Party continues because James Lofton's joining us on stage right now. I'll give you the mic I'm using, and I'll switch over here. James, great to see you, man. Thanks for coming out.
It's fantastic to be here. This is a pretty special time of year. The Packers are playing great. So, you know, we had a game this past week where it tested your heart capacity as you're watching the game, but it was a fantastic finish.
Where did you watch that game, James?
Well, I had done the game for Westwood 1 Seattle at Atlanta the day before. So I'm back home, and I'm watching the game. And, you know, I have so many friends who are Packer fans who are texting me during the game. And when it was 28-13, and it looked like we were driving to kind of salt the game away, and then the interception gets thrown.
Yep.
And Aaron had not thrown an interception. I think it was 285 passes or whatever. And I kept remembering that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were mentioning that to try and throw the announcer's curse on him. So that was intentional, and it was a real reason why that petition was spread about Troy Aikman doing the game.
I was going to say, people aren't going to like Joe Buck or Troy Aikman anymore after that. So, look, we've heaped Aaron Rodgers, we've heaped praise on Aaron Rodgers the last 7-8 weeks, and it's all deserved. But I mean, at what point, what more can you say about the guy, James? I mean, he's tremendous. You got to give props to Jared Cook in that instance as well for making a tremendous catch on the sidelines for a guy that size to be able to haul it in. But from Rodgers' perspective, I know you as a former receiver can really appreciate what he's able to do on the field.
Well, it's interesting. I remember one of the games that they played in Atlanta. I think it was the 2010 playoffs.
Yep.
And Aaron Rodgers had scrambled to his right, and he threw a ball about 40 yards down the field on a rope. And by a rope, the ball never went up. It was just straight. And I remember thinking, there's nobody else in the league who can do that, especially on the move. And it's not like he was going forward. He was going laterally. And his ability to throw the ball like that, and you talk to his receivers, and he puts a lot of revolutions on the ball. So it's a tighter spin. The physics are all there. But it's just phenomenal to watch him play.
The Hail Marys, I mean, does that ever get, I mean, is there an art to that at all? Because for the longest time, we just assumed, all right, there's some luck to this, you heave it up, hopefully your receivers are big enough to come down with it, and the defense makes a mistake, unable to bat it down. But when it happens 3 times in less than 2 years, you start to think, maybe there is something more to this.
Well, you will see this on almost every NFL team. At the end of a practice, somebody will place a trash can 45 yards down the field, and the quarterbacks will compete to try and throw one in to see who's going to buy lunch that day. And you might get a receiver who was a high school quarterback who gets involved in it, and it becomes a competition. When you do little drills like that, and you do them over and over again, you become good at it. And I would venture to say that if Aaron Rodgers does that drill with the other quarterbacks, that he very rarely has to buy lunch, because I don't think he ever loses.
Pro Football Hall of Famer James Lofton is with us, obviously former Green Bay Packer here tonight. We got to look ahead, since I got you here. Atlanta,
sure.
You know what the Falcons bring to the table. You see Matt Ryan, he's playing some of the best football of his career right now. And I've told people this when they've asked me about it in the street. Don't mistake this Falcons offense with the one from 2010 or 2011. You got Devontae Freeman, you got Tevin Coleman in the backfield, and certainly Julio Jones, who is just a specimen at the receiver position. Can they get past this challenge?
I'm doing the game for Westwood 1, so I'll be at the game. And I think it goes even further than that. I was really surprised because last week was the first time that I got to see Atlanta play in person. And what I saw, especially in the fourth quarter, I saw their offensive linemen shoving, pushing, kind of manhandling Seattle's defensive front at the end of the game. There were a lot of those after the play skirmishes, and the Atlanta players were not backing down. So I saw a very physical team up front, that because you talk about all the skill players, and that's nice. But when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, they had 5 offensive linemen who are now going to start their 18th consecutive game together as a unit.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's really the difference in this team, the consistency of their offensive line. Now, can we change that a little bit? I think we can. I think Julius Peppers is playing far better than a lot of people thought he would in his 15th year. Mike Neal seems like he stepped it up. Kenny Clark made a good play. Obviously, Clay Matthews. And I think the inside linebackers, even though they're not big men, Martinez and Ryan and Joe Thomas are playing well. I did a pretty good job naming off most of the people.
You did.
There.
Well done. Does it ever astound you when you look at this Packers organization and the way Ted Thompson goes about building teams? And he's a drafted, developed guy, and we talk a lot about that. there are guys that for the longest time were no-name players. I mean, Joe Thomas, for example, he was on and off the practice squad for a couple of years. Then you'd see him get involved in special teams. And now you look at the guy and he's a regular part of that defense. How impressive is that to you to see guys want it that much to stick around and make it happen?
Well, it's a couple of things, and I know this from the time that I got to coach in the NFL. It is the general manager working closely with the coaches and the personnel department saying, this is what we want in a player. And then when those players come in, what do they do well? Because if you ask somebody to do things that they don't do very well, you're not a good coaching staff. It's like trying to fit that square peg into the round hole. And I think they've done a really good job of getting players who a lot of other people might not have thought as highly of, and being able to put them in the defense, especially on the defensive side. And I think that's hats off to Dom Capers for being able to do that, to work with what he's been given. And this is also a team that, as you watch them draft, they don't draft for next year. They draft for 2 or 3 years down the road. And they're able to do that because they have a good team, because their quarterback and the offense are able to work well. So when they draft somebody on offense, don't always look for the splash that first year, but look for them in that second and third year to really take big steps forward.
Yeah, and speaking of Dom Capers, a lot of injuries that he's had to deal with on that side of the ball as well, and continues to get it done. I want to let you enjoy the party, but I do want to ask you this real quick. The AFC side of things, excited about this one too?
Who cares? Come on. I'm excited about it, but really, I think what we need a rematch Super Bowl. So the Packers versus the Steelers be a great rematch.
Well, or
the last one in Dallas, this one in Houston, and the same result.
I would love to see that. James Lofton, Pro Football Hall of Famer, obviously a member of the Green Bay Packer, 8-time Pro Bowler, is with us tonight. Great to see you, man. Thanks so much for making some time for us.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.